Hello, YouTube world, family, friends, viewers, subscribers. Welcome back to Rebirth. Took a little time off. I've been gone for a little while. Been doing some training, but I'm back and I have more information. We're going to talk about today the update on the antiviral of the coronavirus. This antiviral that they're working on, they're hoping that this be the thing to try to put a stop to this coronavirus. We're also going to talk about John Auerbach, President and CEO of Trust of American and Health. We're going to cover what he said about the mistakes that were made. And then we're also going to talk about Gilead coronavirus drug that they are working on. And it's in development. So we're going to cover that as well. As I go through this, then I'm going to give a shout out to all healthcare and emergency workers, people that are doing essential work to try to help others have a decent life during this terrible time. Without further ado, the 411 information on the coronavirus, COVID-19 antiviral update, part 4. The United States statistical overall numbers as of is today, and this number is steady growing. So when I give you this number, guess what? You can tack on some more to it. 500,000 in the U.S. so far. Over 500,000, we're looking at 500,000 people that has been confirmed cases. We're looking at in recovery, people that has recovered from this virus, 35,000 or a little more. Fatalities, which we hate to talk about, but they are there and exist in the United States, we're looking at over 20,000. People have died from this coronavirus outbreak. Speaking on C-SPAN and a show that they did back on March 29th, I want to go back there first to point out some things that John Auerbach, President and CEO of Trust for American Health, he stated that the virus is a transmittal disease from person to person, which we already know that, but just making a point here. And he made that statement saying that whether people are or not showing signs or symptoms. He also talked about the funding that the government should have had aside to allocate for the hospitals just for situations like this pandemic. But he said that the money that was saved up, so to speak, were used up in other means when it should have been left alone in case of some viral disaster. And I agree with that. But it is what it is. You have all this stuff going on in the government and everybody's pointing fingers or whatever, but at the end of the day, they made a mistake. Moving right along. He was also talking about that the fact that they made that mistake, it caused more people to be at risk. It gave the virus more momentum because now we are fighting from behind to contain a virus that is ahead of us. He also stated that there should have been treatment and testing protocols and criteria set up way before now, just in case of another pandemic. So all these things that he was saying, I totally agree. The CDC had developed a testing method and testing equipment that didn't work. So when they first developed their testing for this pandemic, when they tried it, it was inadequate. And what did that do? Once they learned that they had to go back to the beginning, start all over, just to correct those mistakes, they realized they was falling behind Corona's path. And now they're playing catch up. We are all playing catch up. Just to stay in a position where we can soon get ahead of the virus and start working back by catching people that are contaminated, treating them, and then treating those people that they came in contact with. That's why it's very important for those people to tell the truth about who you were with, what you were doing, and everything else. Just so that we can know who has what, who were you with, possibly giving it to them, and then they get treated as well. Because now it's not about whether you're asymptomatic or not. Everybody going to get tested. Everyone will be tested. What this does, this make the job easier for the medical professionals, and it also put them in a position where they can try containing this virus rather than being more sporadic, trying to react to what the virus is doing. Now let's talk about this new drug called remdesivir. Gilead Corporation is developing this drug that has promising effects. Now, it has not been approved by the FDA yet, but it is in use. Remdesivir is a medication that is designed to interfere with an enzyme that reproduces viral genetic material. Because remember now, in my last video, I talked about the difference between viruses and bacteria. So when they enter the body, they got to get into a cell membrane. They get into the cell, that's when they reproduce and they start spawning, if you will. And that's how it works, by going in and reproducing. Well, this drug is supposed to be able to stop the reproduction process. This monophosphorate prodrug of an adenosine analog with potent activity against an array of RNA virus families. So all of these viruses that is of the RNA family, this drug should be able to do something with them, hopefully stop it. And they're testing this drug as I speak. Make no mistake about this. Try to understand. When you talk about this drug, we're talking about an antiviral, not a vaccine. And there's a difference. When you talk about an antiviral, that drug is used to treat the virus versus a virus, a vaccine, if you will, that are used to prevent the virus. So keep that in mind. Think about it, because many people get viruses. When they're talking about the viruses, they get the vaccines and an antiviral drug confused. Also, the FDA, in order for the companies to even test this drug without the drug being approved to be used by hospitals or anyone. You cannot. It has to be approved by the FDA first. So there is a protocol that is called the compassionate protocol. This protocol is used when we have something like this pandemic. And what they would do, only approve it or allow it to be used in testing. And right now it's being tested in the US, Canada, Japan, and other areas. But the drug hasn't been approved, but it can be administered to people who are severely ill, especially during this pandemic. Now, more than half of a group of people that has been tested did well on this drug. And what they were saying is the patients improved after receiving an experimental antiviral drug, which is this drug that we're talking about. And that's the remdesivir. Now they're saying that 68% of those people did well. And they also stated that it was only 53 people in that trial. Now, you had the ages from 23 to 82. And that was a group. When you talk about clinical trials, in order for you to be able to get the outcome you're looking for, they choose an age group. And then once they get their age group, it's numbered, so many this age, so many that, they single them out that way. Then they start testing. Now, one test is not sufficient. They have to do numbers of testing in a similar fashion in order to get the outcome that they're looking for. This is only one test here with this group. These people were hospitalized in the United States, Europe, Canada, and Japan. 34 of them were sick enough to be on like ventilators, breathing machines, oxygen. They were very sick with the coronavirus. All were given the drug through IV, and it was continuous dosage up to 10 to maybe 15 days. And probably more. Could have been up to 20 days. They had some that bodies accepted the drug, some bodies didn't. But overall, they said 68% did well. Now, when they look at those numbers, they're looking at 53 patients, 36 patients after receiving the drug got better, so they were on less oxygen, less ventilation and things like that, machine breathing treatments and stuff like that. They got a little better, so they saw hope there. Now, 8 of those people ended up being severely ill. They got worse, and 7 died. Now remember, we're talking about a clinical trial here. This is what they do. And a lot of times these people they can't just make someone go into this trial. These people are volunteering. They will most likely say, okay, I want to try it. I take my hat off to those people, because their risk, their sacrifice can ultimately mean we're finding a cure. So before anybody start throwing stones, think about it. They're risking their life for others. %13 mortality rate, and it says it's lower than others that they have tested. This group had a mortality rate that's lower than others using other drugs or what have you. So this was the best outcome so far. And they're really looking at this drug to be the drug to end the corona pandemic. I hope so. But they're doing rigorous studies. This one test is not it. There's going to be more testing done. Right now, as I speak, there are no drugs. I repeat, there are no drugs that have been approved that has, quote unquote, the power to stop the coronavirus. Everything is in testing right now. It's in a testing phase. Even when you talk about the antiviral, that goes into testing. It can last up to a year, year and a half. Vaccine can be even longer. So to develop those type of drugs, it takes time. Even if you have a drug that you say, oh, we have a drug that looks like it can do it, that drug still has to go through testing. At least 5 large studies are testing the remdesivir. And the company also has given it more than over 1,700 people in this particular test. And that's done by case emergency basis only. So that's not, this is including the 53 people that was tested at that time just to find out what this drug can do and to find out whether or not it can help. They went on and they tested it on 1,700 people. But when you think about overall globally, it's probably more. Because even the military has this drug and they're using it on military personnel. Check out my sources on the bottom and just click on the links and you'll read up on it. President Trump was talking about a possible cure. He was also talking about a drug called hydroxychloroquine. And it's a common derivative of a closely related drug called chloroquine. And it is also used to treat malaria, rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus. The FDA Commissioner Stephen Hale cautioned and said the president comments that the chloroquine and its derivatives had not yet been approved for the treatment of COVID-19. So he said, never mind what the president said, has not yet been approved. So the president jumped the gun on that, trying to gain publicity as usual, but it is not yet approved by the FDA. I want to say this is a time when people need to come together. And I'm not saying you're not, but I'm going to tell you what I've been seeing. Lately, I've been seeing people all over the place. Not staying at home. They're out doing everything. People just out. And what they don't realize is that if you're one of the carriers that are not showing the signs of the coronavirus, because you're not coughing, you're not sneezing, not running a fever, so you're out, but you're carrying it, you can still affect other people. We need to limit our contact with other people as much as possible. If you're not going to a job that is an essential job, Find something around the house to do. The kids are out of school. Play games with them. Do exercise with them. There's a lot of people need to work on their weight anyways. Exercise. Get with your kids. Get a PlayStation game. Grown folks can play PlayStation. Do whatever you need to do to find time to stay around the house with your families. There are also ways you can learn more about this virus, and you can also educate your children. You can educate your teenagers and your young kids about this virus. If you have trouble explaining it to them, and you take, some people may not be able to understand what they're saying on television, and the children may not. There are always professionals out here that don't mind if you ask them to give you a call at a certain time, put them on speakerphone, and they can talk to your whole family on speakerphone. I advise that. There's nothing wrong with them going over some things like why it's important to wash your hands, what's going on with the coronavirus, giving them a lot of information, not in so much in depth where it's just overwhelming, but just enough to get the young people to understand how serious this is and why sometimes it's better to just stay home. The adults can learn as well. A lot of people is stressing them out. There are a lot of murders now due to this coronavirus outbreak, this pandemic. People, we got to get it together. We got to wrap our minds around this one way or the other, and we got to hunker down, if you want to use that term, but you got to be able to look at this thing as something real. It's not going to go away tomorrow. Educate yourself, educate your family, educate your children. If you don't know, ask somebody. Simple as that. I want to move on to giving a shout out to everybody that work in healthcare. I want to honor those men and women because I think that everybody been focusing on just nurses and doctors until they've forgotten about others. So I'm going to start right here, right now. I want to honor the men and women working in various healthcare fields that come in contact with people that may or may not have the coronavirus. These people are running the risk of encountering a deadly virus every day because they work in an essential job. And from me, a healthcare professional, to you all, I want to say thank you for being willing to get out here and do this on a daily basis, putting your life at risk. Starting with doctors, whether they're medical doctors, surgeons, primary care doctors working in their own practice, chiropractors, doctors on all levels that come in contact, that do direct care. Mad props. I take my hat off to you guys and gals. Specialty work doctors, nurses, all the way up to practitioners, all the way down to CNAs, MAs. I love y'all. I want you to stay safe. Keep your head up. You got this. We got this. Keep it going. Keep doing what you do. Paramedics, I'm not leaving you out. You guys, you gals, my heart goes out to you. EMTs, medical assistants, you're doing it. You got this. Be safe. Stay protected. Get home to your families. Firemen, firewomen, Yes, you are rescuers. Y'all know what you get into. A lot of time you have to pull people out of cars. You have to do all kind of stuff. 9/11 was one of the biggest. You guys was there, along with the EMTs, along with doctors, along with everybody in the medical field. You were there, firemen and firewomen. Mental health professionals, you are there. You're dealing with people on the daily with mental health issues. A lot of times, these people cannot think critically and be able to remember to do certain things that a lot of us are thankful to do. And they have a hard time just putting together a half a day, more or less than a whole day in their mind, prioritizing and getting it done. So mental health workers are there all the time. Right there. A lot of time they can't practice safe distances. Now, we're looking at the mental health, CNAs, I mentioned you, OTs, occupational therapists. Y'all have to work close up with people. Occupational therapists, assistants doing the same thing. PTs, physical therapists, physical therapy assistants. Y'all doing it. We are all doing it. Orderlies, you're there, you're doing it. Police officers, who say you're not on the front line? Cashiers in the stores, restaurants, who say you're not on the front lines? All other essential workers, you're on the front line. People, nursing homes, senior citizen, places like that. Group homes, you are there. I love you all. Stay with it. Keep doing your job. We are all blessed at the end of the day. We're fighting for the same thing. Be safe. Please be safe. And last but not least, moms that has to take care of their children. Single moms, single dads. You're all out there doing it, man. Stay with it. Got nothing but love for you all. This is Robbie Williams from Rebirth. Please check out my channel. Subscribe to it. You can like I said, my sources is down on the bottom. Check it out. Click on some of those links. Look at what's going on. Educate yourself. There's nothing wrong with it.